So hello and and welcome to this meditation session. And the topic these days is insight. And insight, I think it might be useful to see kind of the wordplay a little bit around the word insight, in that it means something similar to having something in view. If it's in view, then it's within eyesight, something we can see. So insight is something that also comes into the domain of our mind's eye, our perception. So sometimes I consider insight to be closer to revelation than it is to understanding. Something we don't search, we don't analyze, we're not, but something comes into view when we walk up a hill, and then we see the surroundings. They come into view. There's somewhat of a receptive quality to it, a discovery. Reality appears to us rather than we going to reality. And mindfulness meditation is the meditation practice where we become available to have things in view. The direct experience of our life comes into view because our distracted mind takes us into the past, the present, into fantasy, into commentary, into planning, has quieted down. The mind is not jumping around so much. And so now we've come to a place where there's an amazing view. And we don't have to work at seeing that view. We just sit here quietly, keeping it in view, keeping it in sight, allowing what's here to show itself to us. So to do that, we prepare ourselves. Prepare ourselves by understanding at the beginning of the meditation that the goal of the meditation is to be present with what is. And if what is a distracted mind thinking about the past and present, we enter the present moment experience of doing so. This is a mind thinking about the past. This now is a mind thinking about the future. Here, this is the place where we relax and hold reality in view. So assuming a meditation posture and gently closing the eyes. And as part of this preparatory work, to take some fuller breaths. Maybe when you breathe in more fully, pause before you exhale. It can be a momentary pause so that you choose to begin the exhale with a letting go and releasing, relaxing at the end of the exhale, so the exhale is longer, fuller. The little pause at the top of the inhale is a moment to bring you more fully into the present moment. And then letting your breathing return to normal. And as you exhale, to relax in your body. Tension in the body is kind of like exerting pressure on the thinking mind, so it thinks more. As the body relaxes, there's less pressure to think. So softening in the face, around the eyes, as you exhale, softening the shoulders, relaxing, giving in to the weight of the pull of gravity. As you exhale, softening the belly. And as you exhale, a broad general relaxation of the whole body. And as you inhale, to feel the thinking mind, the thinking muscle, pressure or tightness. As you exhale, to soften the thinking mind, to quiet the mind. And then as you now center yourself on your breathing, breathing in an easy way. And when you get to the top of the inhale, experiment with a momentary pause that brings you more into the present moment. And maybe is an occasion to let the thinking mind become quiet. And then exhale. Relaxing into the present experience of your body as you exhale. The pause at the top of the inhale can be for just a half a moment, just enough to pull you into the present more fully, to quiet the thinking mind. And as you exhale, relax at the end of the exhale, release in the body. So the exhale continues for a few moments more. And for a half a moment, pause before breathing in. For another moment of being present, being pulled into the present moment around the breathing. With a thinking mind becoming quiet, and then breathing in. With these momentary pauses, the end of the inhale, perhaps the exhale comes into better view. And the pause at the end of the exhale, the inhale comes into better view. The life-giving experience of breathing. Can be appreciated for what it is and what it does. By keeping it in view. Where there is breathing, there is life. To let the thinking mind become quieter, so you can better feel, observe, experience the life-giving movements of the body as you breathe. As if breathing is a sponge for any tension and preoccupation and pressure to think. Allowing everything to enter the rhythm of breathing in and breathing out. At the end of the inhale, the exhale comes into view. Gaze upon the exhale as you would seeing some natural object that's a delight to gaze at. At the end of the exhale, let the inhale come into view. Like watching maybe the gentle swells of waves moving by the ocean, washing up on the shore. Hold the breathing in view. And after these minutes of meditation, what else comes into view? Without thinking about it, what else besides breathing do you now have a better view of? What do you see about yourself? What is revealed? And for whatever that's revealed, breathe with it. Let it too rest in the gentle rhythm of breathing, so you don't do anything about it. Just see, just observe from the vantage point of breathing in and breathing out. And then as we come to the end of this meditation, there's a way of staying close to breathing that makes it easier then to gaze upon the world without getting caught in thoughts and judgments, agendas. To let the world and others come into view, where the eyes are not marshaled by desires and fears and judgments, where the eyes are perception, gazes upon the world calmly and is available as a conduit for our goodwill, for kind regard of others. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. Thank you. So hello and welcome to our series on insight. And now for the second week, I'm going to introduce to you 5 areas of insight that might be significant for people who do insight meditation. And somehow understanding that there are different forms of insight, different objects of insight, can help us put each into context. And so maybe we better understand what the classic Buddhist idea of insight meditation, is aiming towards. And all these forms of insight are valuable, and but we don't want to be limited by any one of them. We want to be able to appreciate each one in its own way, but not think that this is what insight is by itself. So the word insight is, as I've said, comes from the word vipassana, which means either to see clearly or to see distinctively, to see each thing that occurs in a distinctive kind of way in its own right. And so what that means is we don't use a discursive mind to start lumping everything together in some kind of way, but rather we are letting each thing stand for itself so we know it well, and so that the thinking, conceptual mind is not so busy analyzing, conceptualizing about our experience, taking us away from it in a certain way. So the word insight is sometimes I've kind of evocative way. I like to think of it as the synonym as being revelation. And why I like that as a synonym is that revelation is not something that we are searching for necessarily, or that we're responsible for. It's something that just suddenly seems to appear, that's a meaningful understanding, a meaningful experience, but that we didn't make happen. We didn't feel like we constructed it or thought it out or analyzed something. It just appeared somehow in a way that was surprising and gratifying, meaningful. And so insight has that quality that we're not trying to construct insight or figure something out with the figuring out mind. we're using the meditative mind to become quiet and still so that we're not distracted. We're not caught up in the world of concepts. And instead can kind of see things directly. Our life comes into view, might be less grand than the idea of revelation. Our experience comes into view, and it comes into sight. And rather than looking, we're seeing. Looking being this active effort to kind of zero in on something. Seeing means a kind of relaxed, receptive awareness of the present moment here. And so there are 5 different areas that in which insights can occur, where some new understanding, some new clarity, some new meaningful way of experiencing our life can come into view. So the first is that personal insight. And that means we understand something new about ourselves that's fairly unique to us. It has to do something about, we understand something about our history, what happened to us, how we were conditioned and shaped by things. We have a new insight into what happened to us in the past. We have insight into the kind of thoughts we have, the biases we have, the orientations we have, the beliefs we have that might be operating unbeknownst to us, but they are in the background. And sometimes it's mystifying why certain things happen. But then we kind of, at some points, get quiet enough in meditation that the quiet mind is seen. And we say, oh, that's what I'm believing. That's why everywhere I go, things look dangerous. Because I'm always thinking thoughts of catastrophe. I'm always imagining that the worst will come. And no wonder every place I go seems dangerous, because I'm constantly projecting or seeing through this catastrophizing kind of mind. Or for me, I saw at one point in meditation that in the back of my mind, very, very quietly, but quietly doesn't mean unimportant. It's kind of like the lens through which everything else was seen. I had this strange belief that if any meditative experience was happening to me, it was not the real thing. I didn't know what the real thing should be, but I had this deep doubt about myself and my own experience, that I could never feel settled or at ease with whatever experience I had. There was a very subtle anxiety, a very subtle agitation, very subtle kind of like holding myself back from experiences in meditation because of this very background thing. So other people might have something like that as well, but it might not be it might not be the prominent kind of background belief that of many people. And so, but this is a personal kind of, to me, it's a personal insight. I saw, it made a huge difference to see that. It's almost like as soon as I saw that, the veils were cleared. And now I could just be with my direct experience in meditation in a much simpler, more easy way, content to just let it be what it is, without having some idea that it's not quite up to snuff. And so there's a whole slew of personal insights like that become available when the mind starts getting quieter and quieter. Sometimes if we're thinking about, very concerned about something, the mind is operating sometimes offline, and we're sitting quietly. We have enough space in the thinking mind. It gets quiet enough that some of the offline kind of insights, revelations, understandings will pop up. Many years ago, when I was a new Zen student, I worked at a bakery, and my job was to prepare the wets and the dry ingredients for the bakers that came in early in the morning to make bread and different things. So I'd have these 2 bowls, all the wet stuff, all the dry stuff, the eggs, and whatever that was needed that was wet, and they would just mix it in together in the morning when they came. And so one day I was sitting meditating, and my mind was fairly quiet and peaceful and minding my own business. And suddenly there was like a little explosion in my mind. And my mind said, the salt. And something inside of me, maybe because I've been doing this work for some time, it was deeply in my body. Something inside of me knew that I left the salt out of one of the one of the bread preparations that I was doing. So I had to call him as soon as I could. I called the bakery and told them, and so they were very happy with the results because they put a sign up, salt-free bread, and it was snapped up. People bought it. So this way in which personal insights of different kinds can appear when we're doing meditation. And I don't want to dismiss the value of these at all, but what I'd like to suggest is that for the purposes of mindfulness meditation, we don't want to get too involved in these personal insights. If they're impactful and you want to spend time to reflect and think about them, the recommendation is do it afterwards. Go for a walk with a friend, journal about it, spend other times so that you don't condition yourself to think that meditation is about thinking about things, that's where you're going to kind of have all these aha moments. And the reason for this is I like to present this an analogy that if you go into an apartment building, a tall building, a skyscraper, because you've been told that there's a fantastic and very important view from high up, and so you get into the elevator, and it takes you up to the second floor, and the second floor opens, and there's a amazing party show going on that just seems so made for you and all your interests. So you leave the elevator to go see this party, this show, and you're there for many weeks before you realize, hey, wait a minute, I was supposed to be going up in the elevator. And so you get back in the elevator and you go up and it opens at the fourth floor, and there's World War III, and you see, the good cause and who's the good guys and bad guys, and you're ready to. You feel like you have to, responsible to join the good cause, and you're out there on the fourth floor fighting the war, and maybe then it takes you many months to realize, hey, wait a minute, I was in the elevator going up. And so then you go back in the elevator, and now you go up, and the elevator opens to the seventh floor, and there's this person that you can't believe, the person standing there ready to greet you. It's the person of your dreams. You've been dreaming about this person for years, and here's the person who is clearly going to be your life partner, clearly going to provide everything you need. And you can't believe your good luck. And so you get off the elevator, and it takes you some years before you realize, wait a minute, I'm going up the elevator. So in this way, when meditation is working, it's like you're in the elevator. And then when you have certain revelations, certain insights, certain thoughts, certain fantasies, certain things that you can't believe how good they are or how important the right cause is, we get off the elevator in order to engage in those and plan and work and fight the good fight. And but the idea when you're doing meditation is don't get off the elevator. Trust the process. It's working. If these different insights, these different self-understandings come up, different topics are important for you come up, appreciate that, but don't get off the elevator. Sometimes when I meditate, there will be things more than just salt. Things will arise, say, oh, that's actually important to address. Thank you. And I'll say thank you. And they'll say later, not during meditation. And if you're worried, really worried about forgetting something so important, you could have a pad next to you and just write it down so that you can put it aside. But the idea is here, if you're doing mindfulness meditation, the personal insights, self-understanding that comes along is invaluable and very supportive. But the idea is don't get sidetracked by those in meditation itself. Or at least don't take them as being the only reason we're doing meditation. Some people, when they hear the idea of insight, then will assume that, oh, now I've gotten an insight. Now I know what insight is. I understand something very important about myself that's going to change my whole life for the better. So thank you, insight, that I got my insight. I also appreciate that, very significant forms of personal insight can happen. And the idea is, remember, there's actually many more important insights that are going to come that are part of this this phenomenal path to a deep liberation of the heart, a deep freedom from some of the deepest challenging operating systems by which our whole psychophysical system is operating. And to really drop down to see that in a deep, quiet way, that we want to go into that, having insight into things which are more universal, things that are shared by all people, and not just personal for myself. And that'll be the topic now for the next 4 days. So I appreciate very much this opportunity, and we'll continue tomorrow.